When it comes to Wendigos, skinwalkers, and paranormal activity, I believe they tend to attach themselves to people who are more sensitive to them. That said, I personally haven't had too many experiences, at least not until recently. I work for a company in an office building downtown in a busy city. We have a small team, so we all get along very well. Because of how the office is set up, I ended up with an office that includes a walk-in storage room or closet, while most others only have small closets. I let a few coworkers use my closet since I don't need all the space. I also have an open door policy, as long as I'm not in a meeting, and I keep all important files locked up. I'll name a few people involved, though the names have been changed. They'll be important later. Kyle is the kind of person who can easily make people laugh. A few years ago, he started pulling small pranks, and we'd pay him back. Nothing harmful, just harmless jokes. Even our boss gets involved sometimes. Kyle is one of the people who keeps some of his work items in my closet. During the winter, when it gets dark early, I usually only turn on yellow desk lamps because the overhead office lights give me headaches. One night, while we were getting ready to leave, I had my back to the door as a few colleagues were putting things away in my closet. That's when I heard a quiet giggle. It sounded exactly like Kyle. I turned around and said, "Kyle, what are you up to in there? You better not be messing up my closet." I didn't hear anything in response. I stepped into the closet, but no one was there. I brushed it off, assuming Kyle might have been nearby in the office. As I was closing the closet door, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow run out of my office. The shadow was too clear to be my imagination. I stepped into the hallway, but the only person there was Sarah, who was at the far end locking up her office. She noticed me and started walking over. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Did you see Kyle?" I asked with a laugh. "I think he's messing with me." "He left a little early today," she said. "What did he do?" "I don't want to sound crazy," I replied. "Why? What happened?" she asked, now sounding concerned. "I heard him giggle in my closet, then saw a shadow run out. That's why I looked out here. I thought I'd catch him." She looked skeptical and said, "It's probably just the lighting or he's gotten you on edge, but no, he isn't here." She waited while I grabbed my things and we left together. A few weeks later, I went to our shared workstation with my arms full and realized I had forgotten my ID badge. The badge works as a key card for certain areas. Kyle happened to be walking past my office, so I asked if he could grab it from my desk. He came back and said it wasn't there. At first, I laughed. "Kyle, are you serious?" "Yeah," he said. "It's not there." "I'm being serious." I went back to my office. The badge really wasn't on my desk. I clearly remembered taking it off, adjusting my clothes, and placing it there. I checked my bags, the floor, my drawers, the closet, my jacket pockets, and retraced every step I had taken. I knew it had to be in my office. I had used it earlier that day. After searching all morning, I informed management that it was missing. Everyone asked Kyle if he had taken it, and he insisted he hadn't, and I believed him. He'd never do anything that could jeopardize someone's job. For the rest of the day, I locked my office door whenever I stepped out. A few of us went out for lunch. When I returned, my badge was sitting exactly where I had originally left it on my desk. I asked our office manager, Candace, if she or our boss had stopped by. She said no one had been in my office since we left. She had been in the bullpen the entire time and no one passed by. Only Candace and our boss have keys to my office. I told Sarah and Kyle what happened. They were just as confused as I was. We had searched together earlier. About a week later, things started shifting around the office. Not just in my office, others experienced it too. I've worked here long enough to recognize the normal sounds of the building. One afternoon, a stack of folders behind me slid as if something had bumped into them. Nothing was there. Items began falling from shelves in my closet, even though they never had before. A coworker who shares a wall with me once made a loud noise like he had punched the wall. When I checked on him, he said his shelf had suddenly collapsed, knocking several things down. Sarah and Kyle also noticed things being slightly off. Kyle accused jokingly of moving his stapler under his desk. None of us had touched it. Sarah mentioned she kept finding her lunch bag under her desk, even though she always placed it on the counter behind her. At first, we assumed it was coincidence or small pranks, but it kept happening. We'd hear tapping on the walls like knocking or sounds of things being moved when no one was nearby. We often have college interns or high school volunteers. That part is normal. One semester, my intern Fiona arrived on her first day around 9 a.m. After introductions, I gave her a desk in my office and took her on a tour. She was quiet, possibly shy. I didn't think much of it since I'm an introvert too. She kept her jacket and backpack on. I told her she was welcome to get comfortable and use the closet or a locking drawer. She said she was fine. After she finished reading the manual, I gave her simple first-day tasks. One involved delivering documents to the boss's office at the far end of the floor. After 10 or 15 minutes, she hadn't returned. I called my boss, and he confirmed he received the documents about 10 minutes earlier. I texted and called Fiona. No response. I began walking around the office. While talking to a coworker, I noticed Fiona turning into the hallway that leads to the washroom and emergency staircase. I excused myself and followed. "Fiona?" I called. No response. I opened the emergency exit door and called again. Nothing. As I turned back toward the washroom, I saw her coming out. "Hey, Fiona," I said. She didn't react. She turned the corner away from my office. When I turned the same corner, she was gone. There was nowhere she could have gone without being seen. She would have needed to wait for the elevators. Kyle, standing outside his office, asked what I was doing. "Have you seen Fiona?" I asked. "She's wearing her jacket and backpack." "I saw her turn the corner," he said jokingly. "Did you make her so miserable she quit already?" "Very funny, Kyle," I said, heading back to my office. I asked Candace if she'd seen Fiona. "I saw her walk into the kitchen," Candace said. I followed her in to explain the rules, but she wasn't there. I swear I saw her go in. The kitchen has only one entrance. Candace is strict about it. If someone even breathes wrong in there, she knows. I sent out a message asking anyone who saw Fiona to direct her to me. A few minutes later, Candace returned and told me the school had contacted us. Fiona had withdrawn from the program. The receptionist said she signed out without speaking or making eye contact. Sarah later mentioned she also saw Fiona one moment and gone the next. Our office layout makes it nearly impossible to disappear without intentionally sneaking. I understand there may be logical explanations for all of this, or maybe it sounds unbelievable, but these are only some of the experiences, and honestly, you really have to be there to understand it. I'm only sharing because I've run out of logical explanations. This is a long one, and I don't think many people will believe me, but I need to get it off my chest. I want to start by saying this happened when I was 18. I am 26 now, so it has been about 8 years. Some details may not be perfectly accurate as I recount this. I had just turned 18 and graduated high school. I had been accepted into the university and program of my dreams, and that summer was full of celebration for both me and my family. I was the first person in my family to pursue university right after high school. My mother was a single parent raising 3 children on her own. Because of that, my older sister was forced to grow up quickly and take on a caretaker role for both me and our younger sibling. It wasn't easy on her or on my mom. I'm the middle child, and I worked extremely hard during my last years of high school because I wanted to make my mother and sister proud. For some background, I have had medical issues since I was a baby. A birth defect made me prone to frequent infections, and there were times when I was hospitalized for weeks, sometimes even months. During my final year of high school, my health began to decline again after a period of stability. I was constantly getting sick, and it affected my grades, but I pushed through as best as I could. My symptoms were strange and alarming. I would break out in rashes, faint unexpectedly, and lose chunks of my hair for no clear reason. My mother was terrified. She was deeply religious, always praying and always worrying about her children. When my illness became constant, her fear turned into something more. She began to believe I might be affected by black magic, something people in our religion firmly believe in and take very seriously. She gave me a necklace with religious scripture on it and told me to wear it every day. I did, and I still have it on now. Not long after, my condition began to improve, and my recovery followed. At the time, I didn't question it. When my first semester of university was about to start, it was September, and the timeline is important to my story. I was ecstatic. I truly believed my life was finally changing for the better. Still, I was incredibly nervous on my first day, so nervous that I practically forced my older sister to come with me to my first lecture. She is 7 years older than me, but somehow I convinced her. Looking back, I am grateful I did. The lecture hall was massive, easily holding over 500 students. As the lecture dragged on, something started to feel wrong. Not anxiety, not exactly. My body felt heavy, like gravity had suddenly doubled. My chest felt tight, and I could not get comfortable no matter how much I shifted in my seat. The room felt too warm, my vision blurred at the edges. I felt dizzy and nauseous, like I might pass out. I told myself it was just nerves, but the feeling kept getting worse. My sister noticed something was wrong and pulled me out of the lecture hall. She tried to calm me down, assuming it was a panic or anxiety attack. I barely had time to respond before everything went black. I fainted. When I came to, people were surrounding me, voices overlapping, faces hovering above. My sister was panicking and on the verge of calling an ambulance. I managed to tell her not to. Instead, she called my younger brother to come pick us up. By the time we got home, things escalated quickly. I started showing signs of a severe UTI, but that was not even the worst part. My body began going into what my mother later described as mini seizures. My temperature kept climbing. I drifted in and out of awareness, barely able to focus on anything around me. My mother did not want to take any chances. She rushed me to the emergency room. I spent 14 hours there, which speaks volumes about Canadian healthcare, slipping in and out of consciousness. I had a dangerously high fever. I was septic. The infection had entered my bloodstream, and my body was shutting down. I was actively having seizures, yet it still took hours before I was finally admitted. They put me on morphine for the pain, but despite the medication, that same crushing heaviness in my chest never went away. It felt like something was pressing down on me, like an invisible weight pinning me to the bed. No matter how deeply I tried to breathe, the pressure stayed. I ended up staying in the hospital for 3 weeks. My sister and mother took turns staying overnight with me, sleeping in the stiff hospital chairs beside my bed to comfort me. My younger brother stayed with neighbors. I remember feeling frustrated and upset about missing classes, but beneath that was something else, a deep, lingering unease I could not explain. It felt like whatever had followed me into that lecture hall had not left. And then came that night. The night I still cannot explain. The night that still gives me nightmares. That night, the pain was unbearable. I could not eat and could not keep anything down, and despite being on IV fluids, I was severely dehydrated. My body felt hollowed out, like it was running on fumes. Both my mom and sister decided to stay the night with me. My mom climbed into the narrow hospital bed beside me, holding me close in a way that somehow worked despite the wires and machines. My sister slept, or tried to, on the uncomfortable chair beside the bed. I remember the exact time. 3 a.m. I had been drifting in and out of consciousness, but for some reason, I woke up suddenly and completely alert. My eyes were closed, yet I felt awake in a way I had not all night. Then the weight came back. That same crushing heaviness pressed down on my chest. I could not move, not a finger, not my head. My breathing turned shallow and labored, each breath feeling like it took effort. A high-pitched ringing filled my ears, growing louder until it felt like it was inside my skull. And then I opened my eyes. Something was there. I do not know how to describe it properly. It was tall, so tall it reached the ceiling. It did not have a clear shape or features, or maybe my mind could not process them. What I do remember is the color. It was not just dark. It was black, in a way that felt wrong. Not like a shadow, more like a void, like something that swallowed light instead of reflecting it. It hovered over my bed. My mother was fast asleep beside me, completely unaware. I tried to scream, I wanted to alert her, I tried to move. I could not do anything except stare. The fear I felt was overwhelming, primal, the kind that freezes your thoughts and leaves only panic behind. Then it made a sound. Not a voice, not words. More like a low, distorted noise, something between a whisper and a vibration. And just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished. The room felt empty again. Before I could even process what had happened, my sister, half asleep in the chair, suddenly spoke, "Don't worry, it's gone now." I stared at my sister, my heart pounding. She was still slumped in the chair, eyes closed, her voice slow and heavy with sleep. For a moment, I wondered if she had been dreaming. "Did you see that?" I whispered. She didn't answer. My mother stirred beside me, adjusting her position but not waking. The room felt normal again, quiet except for the steady beeping of the monitors. The crushing weight on my chest slowly faded, and the ringing in my ears softened until it was gone. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I asked my sister what she meant by what she said. She looked confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. "You said it was gone," I told her. "You told me not to worry." She went pale. She swore she had no memory of saying that. She said she had been asleep the entire night and only vaguely remembered waking up uncomfortable in the chair. When I described what I saw, she laughed nervously and said it must have been a hallucination caused by the fever and medication. The doctors agreed. They told me that high fevers, infections, and morphine can cause vivid hallucinations and sleep paralysis. Their explanation made sense on paper. I wanted to believe it. I told myself that was all it was. But something felt wrong. Over the next few days, I noticed strange things. The heaviness would come and go, especially late at night. Sometimes I felt like someone was standing near my bed, even when no one was there. Machines would beep erratically for no clear reason, only to return to normal when nurses checked them. One nurse quietly suggested my mother pray more. That alone unsettled me. Eventually, I was discharged. My body was weak, but the infection was gone. Everyone treated it like a victory, like I had survived something serious and now life could finally return to normal. But I didn't feel normal. When I got home, I started having nightmares. Not the kind you forget when you wake up. These were vivid and repetitive. I would wake up unable to move, that same weight pressing down on my chest, the same ringing in my ears. Sometimes I felt like something was watching me from the corner of the room. I never saw it again, but I felt it. My mother noticed the change in me almost immediately. She said my face looked drained, like something had taken root in me. She brought out the necklace again, tightening it around my neck and whispering prayers under her breath. She also called a religious elder. I didn't want to be there. I didn't believe in black magic or possessions, but I was tired. I agreed just to make her feel better. The elder sat across from me, studying my face in silence. Then he asked a question that still echoes in my mind. "Did you reject someone's love?" I froze. No one in my family knew about it. During my final year of high school, there had been a girl who became fixated on me. I had been polite, distant, and eventually firm. I told her I wasn't interested. After that, she stopped coming to school altogether. I never thought about it again. Until that moment, the elder said nothing else. He simply told my mother that jealousy, rejection, and obsession can be powerful things when mixed with belief and intent. He said not everything that harms us leaves visible marks. More prayers followed, more rituals. I don't remember much of it, only the exhaustion. Slowly, the nightmares stopped. The heaviness faded. Life moved on. I finished university. I grew older. I tried to forget, but even now, 8 years later, there are nights when I wake up at exactly 3 a.m., my chest tight for no reason, my room silent and still. On those nights, I don't move. I don't open my eyes. I wait. Because a part of me is still afraid that whatever hovered over that hospital bed never truly left. It may just be waiting. This started during my second year of college. I was a quiet student. I kept to myself, focused on classes, library hours, and going back to my rented room before dark. I didn't drink. I didn't party. I had no interest in relationships. My goal was simple: finish my studies and leave this place behind. That's when I noticed her. Her name was Eliza. She sat 2 rows behind me in one of my lectures. At first, it was just glances, then small smiles. Then she started waiting outside the classroom. She would ask unnecessary questions, walk beside me, laugh a little too loudly. I was polite, but distant. One afternoon, she finally said it clearly. She told me she liked me. She said she had been watching me for months. She said she felt something strong, something meant to be. I wasn't interested. So I told her the truth. I told her I needed to focus on my studies. I told her I didn't want a relationship with anyone. She was really desperate. She begged me to be with her, but I didn't want to distract myself, so I rejected her. She didn't give up. She kept trying for many days, but the result was the same. She would give me flowers, gifts, ask me out on dates, but I didn't accept anything. One day, she didn't come to college. The next day, when she arrived, she seemed completely different. She didn't look at me. She didn't talk to me. She wasn't clingy anymore. I thought maybe she had finally given up, which was good for both of us. 3 nights later, I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. I remember the time clearly because my phone was glowing beside my bed. The room felt heavier, like the air had thickened. I couldn't move my arms or legs. Sleep paralysis, I told myself. Then I smelled something. It was like burnt hair mixed with rotten flowers. From the corner of the room, I heard whispering. Not clear words, just a low, wet murmuring, like several mouths speaking at once. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would tear out of my chest. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. When I finally regained control, the whispering stopped instantly. The smell vanished. The room was normal again. I didn't sleep after that. Over the next week, things escalated quickly. My books started falling off shelves by themselves. I would find strands of long black hair on my pillow, even though I lived alone and kept my room locked. My dreams turned violent. I dreamed of being buried alive, of hands clawing at my chest, of a woman standing at the foot of my bed, smiling with her eyes completely black. I started seeing symbols. They appeared on my notebook covers, scratched lightly as if by fingernails. Circles within circles, crossed lines, shapes I had never seen before, but somehow recognized. When I tried to erase them, they wouldn't come off. They faded only after I burned the paper. My body began to fail. I lost weight rapidly. My appetite vanished. I vomited almost every morning, but nothing came out except bile. Dark bruises appeared on my arms and back, shaped like fingerprints. Doctors found nothing wrong. Blood tests were normal. Scans were normal. At night, the worst things happened. I would hear knocking from inside the walls. Slow, deliberate. 3 knocks. Always 3. Sometimes my name was whispered right against my ear in a voice that wasn't male or female. When I looked in mirrors, my reflection lagged slightly behind my movements, like it was deciding whether to copy me or not. One night, I woke up screaming. I was standing in the middle of my room, barefoot, holding a small cloth doll in my hands. It was stitched crudely with black thread. A lock of my own hair was tied around its neck. I don't remember making it. That was when I realized something was actively trying to kill me. I stopped attending classes. I stopped answering calls. I barely survived on water and crackers. I felt something inside me. Not possession exactly, but influence, like a presence leaning into my thoughts, filling my head with despair, telling me to give up, telling me to jump, telling me to end it. On a Sunday morning, out of pure desperation, I walked into a church. I wasn't religious. I hadn't been inside a church since childhood, but my legs carried me there on their own. The moment I crossed the threshold, I felt a sharp pain in my chest, like something inside me was burning. I collapsed near the entrance. A priest rushed toward me. He didn't ask my name. He didn't ask what happened. He looked at me and his face went pale. "You have been cursed with black magic," he said quietly. Those words terrified me more than anything else. He took me into a small room behind the altar. The moment he began praying, I started shaking uncontrollably. My teeth clenched so hard they bled. My mouth opened and sounds came out that were not my voice. Deep, guttural sounds layered with something else. The priest stopped. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Without meaning to, the name slipped from my mouth. "Eliza?" The priest nodded slowly, as if he already knew the answer. He told me it was a love-binding ritual, twisted into a death curse. He said the intention behind it was absolute possession. If she couldn't have me alive, she would have me dead. The exorcism lasted hours. I don't remember all of it. I remember holy water burning like acid on my skin. I remember screaming until my throat tore. I remember seeing things crawl out of the shadows, shapes that folded in on themselves, whispering in languages that hurt to hear. At one point, my body arched unnaturally, and I felt something rip away from my chest like a hook being pulled out. Then everything went silent. When I woke up, it was evening. I felt empty, exhausted, but clear. The weight was gone. The whispering was gone. For the first time in weeks, I felt like myself. The priest destroyed the doll, the symbols, everything connected to the ritual. He warned me never to look for her. The next day, Eliza didn't come to class. She never came back. People said she dropped out, some said she moved away, others said no one could reach her. Her phone was disconnected, her apartment was found empty, with all her belongings left behind. I never saw her again. All right, guys, the horror ends here for tonight. There will be more terrifying experiences on this channel, so don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Share it with your horror nerd friends. If you've experienced something paranormal, you can email your story to the address in the description. See you in the next video. Stay safe until then, if you can.